But we start things out in the NFL, and Sam Yarnell is here. Mike McDaniel is here for now. I don't know how much longer. We'll talk about that as the Ravens take care of business in Miami. 28-6 was the final, Sam, and pretty workmanlike performance from the Ravens here, getting Lamar Jackson back on the field. He worked well with his tight ends. Kolar getting a touchdown reception. Mark Andrews with a couple. Bateman grabs one. And I don't want to say what you would expect, because I thought Miami would put up a little bit more of a fight. And while they were able to move the football some, they just could not get the ball into the end zone. Turned it over a couple of times. The Boo Birds were out. They had the bags on their heads. I still have mine in the corner. And so here we are with this Miami team at 2-7 on the season. We'll get to them in a moment. But the big question I'm asking, Sam, is are the Ravens back? I know it sounds crazy to say at 3-5, but the defense the last 4 games has looked very good, or much better, much improved for sure from what we saw over the first, 4 games of the season, 5 games of the season. And again, they play Pittsburgh twice. It's all right there in front of them. I still think the Ravens win the division.
Yeah, so yes, the Ravens will win the division. No, they are not back. Here, you said the important part there in the middle, Jason, and that is, it was halftime of this game, right? The score at halftime was what, 7-3? Was it? No, it was 14-6.
Yeah,
it was 14-6, right?
Yeah.
It was a one-score game, regardless. And you had the feeling, everyone had the feeling. Carissa Thompson even said it on the halftime show. The Dolphins should have been winning that game at halftime. The Ravens played an abysmal first half defensively. I mean, this is not a defensive unit that by any stretch looked back against one of the worst offenses in the NFL right now. And if the Dolphins don't go down at the end of the first quarter and then again at the end of the first half and essentially throw up on themselves in positive territory, the Ravens would be trailing that game at halftime. And it's a completely different story. From the Lamar aspect, the efficiency back from a hamstring injury was off the charts. I'll say this, though. The mobility wasn't. And hamstring injuries, we always talk about with professional athletes being so tough because they tend to linger. And when you have Lamar Jackson running for 14 yards on 5 carries yesterday, it doesn't look like he's all the way back. Yeah. Derrick Henry, however, ran the absolute nuts out of the ball. I mean, that guy is, I don't know why we ever questioned that guy hitting a wall. That guy is still one of the best running backs in football, Jason. But I am not sold on these Ravens being able to get wins when it matters in the playoffs. They still don't feel like that kind of team to me.
Well, I don't know. Look, I'm not going to go so far as to try and prognosticate what they're going to look like in the playoffs, because I don't know what a lot of these teams are going to look like in the playoffs right now with still a couple of months remaining in the regular season. I disagree. I thought Jackson moved around well. He didn't have to run the football last night. He was barely pressured. He had all the time in the world to throw the football, so he didn't have to run the football. So I'm not going to judge him too harshly on that. They did get, and look, on the plays where you get a couple of turnovers in this game, they were turnovers forced by good defensive plays by the Baltimore Ravens. And it's easy to sit here and pick, and I'm sure we both have had a propensity to do this, maybe because I'm listening to you say it, I hear you do it and think you do it more than I do, but I mean, it's easy to sit here and tell me everything that's wrong with the Ravens. The reality is, in that division, there isn't any reason why you still couldn't. My bottom line question to you, Sam, was, are they back? And I guess I should have put it in context and said, are they back in the context of the team that you still think wins the division? Yes or no?
Yeah, well, and again, I think that there's a caveat that needs to be taken with that, right? Because no one expected the AFC North to be the worst division in football, and it is clearly played out as the worst division in football, which is why I led my answer with, yes, they are going to win this division.
Okay.
Again,
that's what I wanted
it is
to hear.
The least talented division in football. Winning the AFC North in 2025 is not impressive by any stretch of the imagination, considering the team that we are talking about being the favorites to win this division right now is 2 games under 500 halfway through the season.
Okay, move from that to the Dolphins side of this. You've got a bye. You've got a long week ahead. You've got fans booing, wearing paper bags, and even more so than this team looking flat was they almost felt irrelevant in this game. You know, fans were booing, but it wasn't lustfully booing. It was almost like, all right, this is what we are. It was almost resignation. And I wonder if that resignation leads to a move. A lot of people we've brought on this show that are experts will tell us that they're not going to make a coaching change in season. I don't know how off of that performance you can't be considering it if you're Stephen Ross this morning.
Well, I think it's because, you know, they sat up in that box and watched that game just like we did on TV. Like, you watch that game and you understand why Mike McDaniel can't win games. I'm sorry, but any NFL team that is trotting Tua Tagovailoa at this point in his career out under center with any regularity, which again, the Dolphins are forced to because of the contract that not Mike McDaniel, Chris Grier, and the Rosses, that ownership group, agreed to give to Tua, they're handcuffed to him. So, you know, I understand the leniency with which has been given to Mike McDaniel from ownership in the Miami Dolphins organization. This is a Tua problem, and monetarily, there is no getting away from him in the next 18 months.
Here's my problem with the idea of it being a Tua problem. You know who he's throwing the football to last night? Jalen Waddle, Greg Dulcich, Malik Washington, Devon Achane, Nick Westbrook-Akine, Taj Washington, and Cedric Wilson. You know who's not there? You don't have any Tyreek Hill. You know who's not there? You don't have Evan Ingram, who obviously proved that, you know, he could still play when he had him out there a couple of weeks ago. So I can't give a complete grade to what Tua is right now because he hasn't, throughout this entire season, had his full complement of weapons. We've got more to do on the other side, including some Major League Baseball. All right, we keep the line moving on this Friday edition of the show. From the NFL to Major League Baseball. And coming up in 10 minutes, it's Robert Littal, the founder of Black Sports Online, to talk about some of the top stories from the week, including the WNBA and its players deciding to extend the deadline to get a new CBA done by 30 days. We'll talk about that some as well. Sam Yarnell and I continue the conversation here. Game 6 of the World Series on Friday night and potentially a Game 7 on Saturday night, Sam. And look, for me, you know, it's about Yamamoto and why I think this series makes it to a 7th game. I don't know how you would possibly pick against him with the way he's pitched. And some might say, well, it's Game 7, it's Game 6 on the road, closeout game. Look, what I saw from him on the road in Milwaukee, what I've seen him at home, you could put him on the moon, and I think he's going to throw really well right now with what we've seen out of him, Sam. So I am curious to get your thoughts first on whether we get to a Game 7, because then we'll talk about it, because there's a lot of different things being discussed with regard to Shohei Ohtani that I want to get to. But first, do we get to a Game 7 on Saturday night? Not what we're hoping, because we're all hoping for a Game 7, but do you think we'll get to a Game 7?
So everyone thinks we'll get to a Game 7, right? It seems like this popular take, and maybe I just have way too many Dodgers fans in my ear, but it seems like everyone's like, oh, they're throwing Yamamoto Game 6. It's a wash. We'll see you Game 7 on Saturday. So I'm going to go contrarian. No.
What?
The Blue Jays get it done in 6. And quite literally, the only reason I think that is because everybody is already operating under this foregone conclusion that it'll go 7. And usually when those kinds of things happen, they tend to bite people in the rear end. So yeah, I'll take my gamble. Yeah, the Blue Jays win it in 6. Why not? Oh, Canada.
Yamamoto.
But if it goes 7, the Dodgers are winning it, no question.
Yamamoto. It's so easy. Yamamoto is minus 140. Yamamoto and the Dodgers are minus 144 to win the game on your money line on Friday night. The Blue Jays plus 122. The total is 7.5, by the way, which I also think I kind of like the under if we're talking about that. So both of those are kind of where I'm leaning right now when we look at this game. Yamamoto is just impossible to bet against right now. He has been that kind of good. And I think they will keep him out there till his arm falls off. If they have to. I mean, look how many. We didn't talk about this. We didn't talk about this on Thursday with David Ardsma. They had Snell threw 116 pitches in that game. They were not putting that game in the hands of the bullpen, even though Snell gave up a couple of home runs early on. By the way, can we just say real quick, did he actually blame luck? Did you see what he said about, luck played into it or luck was on their side in Game 5? I mean, come on, man. Like, do better than that. You gave up back-to-back home runs to start the game, coming off of Game 4 where your team didn't score any runs. You put your team behind the 8 ball to start the day. And I know he made it through in 3 runs in whatever, however many innings in the 116 pitches. But Blake Snell, calm down. I think we're getting to a Game 7. So let's pretend that you think it's going to get to a Game 7, even though you just told us you don't think it's going to get to a Game 7. Because here is where the storylines potentially get really interesting, and there is some drama that could potentially be created for this Game 7. And that is Shohei Ohtani potentially as an opener in that game is being discussed. And Shohei Ohtani playing in the outfield, which we haven't seen all year, is potentially being discussed. Sam, given everything they have invested in this guy as the single entity that this entire franchise is wrapped around, what do you think about the concept of him potentially being an opener or playing in the outfield?
Well, obviously, I think the outfield thing is more fun. And, those of you who may not be as in the weeds with the baseball world as I am, like, that's one of my favorite weird things that we get in baseball. There's a time in the majors that happened, I want to say 5 or so years ago. The Phillies did it. Vince Velasquez was in the outfield, and I don't remember who they brought in to pitch, but they just had him flip-flop, and it's based on the matchups. And I think it's always like one of the most fun things we can do in sports. It happens in college baseball a couple of times a year in really big spots where you have one lefty and you have one righty, and the lineup that you're about to face flips back and forth. So you put one in left field and you put one on the mound and you flip them between each other, batter by batter.
I've seen the Cubs do it before too.
I think it'd be a lot of fun. I think it'd be really cool to see on baseball's biggest stage, turn it into a little league game. With the opener thing, it's a dangerous game to me. I'd rather see Ohtani come in the middle innings, right? As you generally see used starters, right? You think back to Game 7, 2019, Patrick Corbin comes in relief of Max Scherzer and ultimately hands it off to the bullpen for the 9th. I think that's the kind of situation that I could see Dave Roberts being more inclined to go to, using him in like the 6th.
I'll tell you why it's a problem and why it's difficult to bring him in the middle innings. And you probably know this. And I only know it because people pointed it out to me the other night during a discussion I was having online, and that is he's in the lineup. Right. So it's difficult to get him out to the bullpen unless you've literally got 8 batters in between, unless he had just hit. And then you could send him out there, but you don't know if that situation's going to exist. That's why the opener thing probably makes more sense in that spot.
The other part of that, and it's a very popular argument that people make, the other part of it that people forget about just as easily is he's a designated hitter, so he doesn't have to play defense. So whenever his team is in the field, he could quite literally just use that entire half inning to go out to the bullpen and warm up, which...
But innings are fast. Minutes. But innings now with baseball and the pitch clock, an inning can only take half an inning can only take a couple of minutes, Sam.
A 1-2-3 inning, yeah. But if it's a 1-2-3 inning, odds are he's not coming in after the pitcher throws a 1-2-3 inning. Odds are he's coming in after a longer inning where the pitcher's got to throw 20 some odd pitches. So yeah, again, if it's a spot where he is supposed to come in, they will find the time to get him to the bullpen.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see it. I think we're going to get 7, which is all you could ever ask for out of a World Series. And like I said, Rob Manfred's dream. Give him truth serum. He'll tell you. It's Toronto winning the World Series. And it going 7 games. Because then we can talk about the disappointment. See, you spent all this money. Look, the Mets spent all this money. They didn't even make the playoffs. The Dodgers, all this money. They only won 1 World Series. They couldn't even win it back-to-back. Shucks. We'll see how it all plays out. Sam returns later in the show for Page versus the Prince. But coming up, my man Robert Littal, the founder of Black Sports Online, talk about the top stories of the week. Thanks for being with us as we continue on this Friday edition of SportsWrap. Coming up in 20 minutes, Tino Patino talks NASCAR, the Cup Championship race, the finale of the playoffs in Phoenix this Sunday. 4 men enter, 1 man leaves. Well, leaves with the championship anyway. We'll see who he thinks that is. Page versus the Prince, NFL picks coming up a little later on as well. But if it's a Friday on the show, it means this guy is here. The one and only Robert Littal, the founder of Black Sports Online, hangs out with us every Friday here on SportsWrap to talk about the top stories of the week. We had Kurt Heelan on earlier in the week, and we talked with him a little bit about sort of how the NBA world and the basketball world are reacting to this gambling story that's now, basically a week removed from it launching. But I wanted to get your thoughts in particular about Pablo Torre, who we've talked about on this show before with regard to other controversies that he's been sort of unveiling and digging deeper into and going further than most from a journalism point of view. But I wonder where the journalism crosses into the sort of the Stephen A. Smith territory of just pontificating about things and throwing things out there and seeing what sticks. I bring this up in the context of Tyronn Lue, who yesterday Pablo Torre brought up as being everywhere. His hands are all over the place within this NBA gambling investigation. And as much as I have complimented Pablo Torre on his dogged determination to try and get to the bottom of this story and other stories, whether it's Bill Belichick, the aspiration stuff, I applaud it. But when does it go too far? When Tyronn Lue hasn't been charged or even suspected of any wrongdoing, but you're putting his business out there and saying, wherever these illegal poker games were, Tyronn Lue just seemed to be all over it. And, he's involved in different aspects, but he hasn't been charged. Where does it go too far? Where does it cross a line for you, at least, to go after the Clippers head coach?
If there's no law against being hustled. If Tyronn Lue is around being hustled, that he should be. Maybe it's the way that it's being presented. Instead of it being presented like Tyronn Lue's, it's being suggested that maybe he's in more than what he knows, as opposed to saying, well, if he's around all of this illegal, he's probably a victim. How much money did he lose? What is going on? To me, unless there's concrete evidence or some strong evidence that anyone in the NBA had something to do with the basketball aspect of it, meaning, the point shaving or the over-unders, all of that stuff, I don't think they should be mentioned. Because if I go play poker at my neighbor's house and I get, and he gets arrested, I feel like they don't have anything to do, with me. I just happen to just live next door. You know what I mean? So I think, and people want salaciousness, and we know this. So you keep giving them a little bit, but I don't think that was fair to Tyronn Lue.
If you're Tyronn Lue, do you speak out?
I don't think so. I think you go the Kawhi route. Don't say anything. What I've learned throughout the social media over the years is that sometimes people throw things out there to get a reaction because the reaction becomes the bigger story. Because if Tyronn Lue talks about it, and then everybody gives them a green light to write about it. Right now, people are like, I don't know if I want to, touch it. That's a little tricky. He's not been charged. Some people write about it, but as soon as you acknowledge it, or say something, you put yourself in a weird spot because somebody has some information about you and they can contradict what you say. Now, you could just be in bigger trouble. I think right now his lawyer, as soon as he saw no, don't say nothing. Don't say anything.
We talked about this last week, if I recall correctly, when I asked you about Chauncey Billups and how these guys got roped into this thing. And now it feels like, on some level, Tyronn Lue was also roped into in whatever degree it was. And look, more details are going to come out on this. People are going to start spilling the beans. People are going to start trying to make deals to save their own asses. So there's going to be more that comes out on this. So where this is today as we talk about it is not where it will be a month or 6 months down the road or even a year down the road. But again, the level to which, grown men, we're not talking about like a 21-year-old. We're talking about grown-ass men getting sort of roped into this thing. Does it take you by surprise now when you start to hear, Antonio Gates, Kevin Garnett, those names getting lumped into this?
Because we've heard this stuff kind of off to the side, for years. And you live in Vegas. You know these guys come to Vegas, and when you have so much money like these guys have, it's so easy to think, well, I got $20 million coming, next year. I'm gonna just bet. And it's not even so much the money, is just getting involved with maybe the wrong individuals. And you owe the wrong individuals money, and they say, something, I don't want the money back, but there's a favor that you can do for me. I've seen athletes, and it's always shocking to me. They become famous, they make all this money, and some of the people that they hang around, it just could. If I had all that money, the only people you see me with is you, my wife, and the kids. I would, even my grandma. I'll be like, I don't know, grandma. You go to the casino a lot. I don't know if I should go with you. They just like Chauncey Billups was shocking to me. But then the more and more I thought about it, I'm like, maybe he just made a wrong, he met the wrong person, did the wrong thing. And once you're in, it's very hard to get out.
One more thing before we leave this segment on the NBA. I don't know if you saw this, so I don't mean to blindside you with it. Did you see this Cooper Flag thing? What he did to Max McClung? Yeah. Man, not for nothing. Cooper Flag
doesn't work if the guy's 5'11" and you're like 7'2".
And here's the thing on top of it. You've been in the league 5 minutes. You've had a few games, but you've also had a couple of games where you've basically been a no-show. Can we at least wait until we accomplish something in this league?
It was like when Arch Manning stood over,
the SMU guy.
Yeah,
perfect example. Like, what are we doing here? Like, Jason Kidd's got to pull
high school highlights. All the guys are like 5'4", and he's like 6'6", just running over. looks like the episode of The Simpsons when Nelson was running over all Milhouse and everybody. Come on, Cooper. But in Cooper Flag's defense, being a number one pick and having all this I don't know why they're starting him at point guard, but having all this responsibility, I think it's a lot of pressure. I think when you're like the number 2 or number 3 pick, like Edgecombe, you don't have the pressure on you as much, the spotlight on you as much, and I think you play a little bit. I think it's getting to him just a little bit.
Jason Kidd's got to pull him aside and be like,
too small.
Jason Kidd's got to pull him
him aside. Actual NBA contract right now.
Really? There's another NBA thing I want to get to, as well as the WNBA labor strife. We'll get to it next. Robert Littal with us. It really is one of my favorite days of the week on the show. I love getting to pick the brain and get different perspectives, and Robert Littal always brings that to the table. The founder of Black Sports Online hangs out with us every Friday here on the show. One more from the NBA, and then I want to pivot away. The Spurs are a story, man. They're 2 undefeated teams, the Spurs and the Thunder right now. Thunder are 6-0. The Spurs are 5-0. And before the season started, Victor Wembanyama was 22-1. Literally the day before the season started, I think he was like 22-1 to win the MVP. Now he has the second best odds behind Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I understand there's some recency bias built into that price. I appreciate that. At the same time, that team being 5-0 and him doing the things he's doing and the highlight reel that he is on a nightly basis. I said this to Kurt Heelan when he joined us on the show Wednesday. For the first time in a long time, there is somebody playing in this league that I want to watch every single night. And he's not on my favorite team, so it's not for that reason. I want to watch every single minute that he's on the floor, Robert.
Yeah, he's a league pass guy now. I mean, I think this is what the NBA has such luck, I'll be honest with you. It's because every time, it seems like, okay, a generation is passing and, these guys are on their way out, even though they're lasting longer these days, the KD, the LeBron, the Stephs. They always have somebody else. They always have a couple of people that come back around. They always have a random person like a Jokic that wasn't even supposed to be any good. And then just to get Wemby and the excitement that you feel, like you said, the most important thing from everybody. Don't have to be your favorite team. I want to watch, Wemby play to the point that all of us are praying, please stay healthy for at least 15 years. Please stay healthy for give us at least 10 years, because you can see if he's healthy and doesn't get derailed, these older guys on their way out, he is going to be the guy if he can stay healthy. And it's crazy when the opponents are like, please, just I want him to play so bad. Just please be.
They got no answer for him, though. I watched him opening night against Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is an all-defensive league first-teamer. He did whatever. He abused Anthony Davis. In a way that I've never seen anybody abuse Anthony Davis, who had no answers for him on the defensive end, Robert.
Yeah, I think, when you get those once-in-a-generation players, when you see them, it looks different.
Yeah.
When you saw LeBron, it looked different. When you saw Jordan, it looked different. When you saw Wilt, probably, it looked different.
Yeah.
And I think, Shaq looks different. When you watch Wemby, you're like, this is different. This is not, there's a lot of great players in the NBA. And then there's a guy you're like, okay. And really the only other player in the NBA that makes me say, okay, this is Joker. And, but he's 30 years old. So, there's a shelf life.
And it's clunky. It looks like the old guy at the YMCA who beats everybody and you don't know how he does it. With Wemby, there's a level of athleticism combined with the freakish size. And I say freakish, and it's the personality. He's erudite. Yes, he is.
I can see people that don't the money makers that don't even like basketball are just, oh my God,
salivating.
Oh my God, this guy's gonna make us $10 billion.
Speaking of $10 billion, I saw some people. David Sampson, the former owner of the Marlins, was talking this week, and they were saying, well, the WNBA women are never going to get the cut of the pie that the men get. In the NBA, that the WNBA and this collective bargaining process they're going through. They've extended the window for another 30 days to try and get a deal done. Does that signal to you that there is enough goodwill or willingness to try and get something done that they get this done and avoid a work stoppage?
I always thought they would get it done. I mean, the CBA negotiations are always, let's say, tense. And especially when you don't know what's going on behind the books. I think their issue is not necessarily revenue split and stuff like this. They don't know exactly how much money people are making off of their league. They know Caitlin Clark makes a lot of money. They know Angel Reese. They know Sabrina. They know the ratings are up. They know the advertiser, the TV contracts are up. But I don't think they know how much of that it should be going to them. And, until those books get open, I think it may be a problem. But, we haven't had a work stoppage in major sports in a very, very, very long time. There's just too much money to be involved for them to lose their momentum. I think it gets done. I don't know if it gets done in their favor. We'll see if they're more like MLB or they're more like, the NFL when it comes to CBAs.
All right, before I let you go, I got to get a thought from you on the World Series. Game 6 on Friday night. I think there will be a Game 7 because I think Yamamoto has been damn near unhittable throughout this postseason. So I think the Dodgers win Game 6. Do you think we're getting to a Game 7? And if so, who do you think wins the series?
I hope so. I think the Blue Jays are going to win. They got a little vibe to them that I like. I don't know exactly what it is, but I will say this. If it gets to a Game 7, maybe we get that Shohei legacy game. He's won a chance. Freddie Freeman's locked. Betts is locked. Kiki Hernandez locked. Edmund locked.
Max Muncy, yeah.
Muncy locked. Like Ohtani's had a lot of great individual moments, throughout the playoffs. But you need that World Series moment. And if he has to either come out the pen or he has to hit 5 home runs, this is his time to when we talk about, because we'll be talking about Freddie Freeman for the next 30, 40, 50, 100 years. We'll be talking about Shohei, but we want him to have that moment. Will he have that moment? That's what I'm interested in watching.
Yeah, because in their World Series last year, he didn't really have that moment.
No,
he had hurt his shoulder on the slide, and he was kind of a non-factor throughout much of that series. And even in this postseason, he's had spurts of these moments, the 3 home runs and the 6 innings and all that. Last 2 games, he couldn't touch the ball.
Right. You can't go from being intentional to walk 4 times.
Reaching base 9, reaching base nine times in a game.
I flipped out about that. I hate intentional walks. I couldn't stand it.
Doesn't count. Robert Littal, the founder of Black Sports Online. I always appreciate you, my friend. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll catch up next week.
Happy Halloween if you celebrate.
No candy. Don't knock on my door. We proceed on this Friday edition of the show, Odds and Ends, or on Fridays, Page versus the Prince. Week 9 NFL picks coming your way from myself and Sam Yarnell. You can almost guarantee I'm going to go 2-2 because I think I'm like 4 weeks straight of going 2-2. I suck. Sam's all over the place. He was 1-3 last week. Anyway, we'll talk about that coming up. But we have a big weekend in NASCAR, and that can only mean one thing. It's a NASCAR Friday, and Tino Patino is here to help us break it down as we have the NASCAR Cup Championship race, the finale of the playoffs. God, the NASCAR season is so long. And then it starts again in like a couple more months. Longest season in all of professional sports by far. So we've got the finale this weekend in Phoenix, Tino, with Denny Hamlin, William Byron, Kyle Larson, and Chase Briscoe. I start with Larson for the reason that he's the only one that didn't win anything throughout the playoffs, and yet still he finds himself in this championship 4. What are we to make of his playoffs, and why should we believe that just all of a sudden he's going to pop up and win in Phoenix despite the fact that he hasn't won throughout the postseason?
It's a great point. He didn't win any races, but still was up there accumulating the most points, in which he was able to have him advance into the championship 4. I think that's the part of it where, although he wasn't winning races and being out there, he was still dominant in their own right in terms of leading laps, winning some stages from that standpoint. Could have won Vegas easily had that last caution not come out. That's one race that I really look at to where, okay, that really could have been a win. Now, if he would have won that race, Denny Hamlin's not even in. This is a completely different championship 4, so I don't want to go back too far about that. But to me, it's pretty funny because William Byron just dominated Martinsville last weekend. Ryan Blaney was close, but Byron gets it done. Denny Hamlin, lots of storylines about him. 44 years old, going for his first NASCAR Cup Series championship. To me, he's like the Dan Marino of NASCAR. Never thought he would win a championship. He has a chance to do so. Probably his best chance yet. And as the years wind down for him, maybe his final chance. Chase Briscoe, the opposite end of that. His first chance to win a championship, and it comes at a track that he's really strong at. So I just mentioned those 3, and to go back to the guy that started this conversation was Kyle Larson. I think they're being a little underrated, a little bit of the underdog going into this championship in which he'd be the only driver to win multiple out of this group.
Can I ask you an interesting question? And I don't mean to throw a curveball at you, but it might be a little bit of a curveball. By the way, Joey Logano, the winner last year at this race and the Cup Championship. But I want to ask you a question. In a day and age where we talk about expanding fields in the NCAA tournament, where we've added teams to baseball and more teams can make the playoffs. We've done it in the NFL. We're talking about doing it. We're going to do it again in college football. The NBA has the play-in. Could you ever envision a scenario where NASCAR expanded the championship to more than 4 drivers? Or do they like it at that number for any particular reason?
Well, it will be changing. Next year, the playoff will be different. So you're right on the money.
But the championship race.
Right. So that's yet to be seen. I will say it depends on what the playoff format is. So I'll say yes, I think they will expand it, but we don't know how. We don't know. So there are a bunch of different options on the table. Could be a full season long standings and a point system there. I don't think that's the case, but that is an option.
So just eliminating the start of the playoffs and it just going throughout the entire season.
Yeah, as we've seen in IndyCar and F1 as well. Another standpoint could be maybe 6 drivers instead of 4, maybe 10 drivers capable, and that's points. Only 10 can win it, and that's 10 races with 10 drivers, and that's a full, 10-point system from those 10 races onwards. That was what was had before this playoff system. I'm a fan of the playoffs. I think playoffs and a postseason in some fashion is worth it for the sport.
I agree, and I think it amps it up to another level. I like the idea of a playoffs, a defined period of time where you've got to get to a certain point. I just wonder if the last race having only 4 drivers eligible to win is the best way to go. That was the reason I had posited the question to you. All right, so when you look at this final race and you stack up these four in particular, and you could always get an outsider that winds up winning the race, and then it's obviously the next highest finisher. It doesn't happen often, obviously. What's it only happened once?
Only happened once.
Yeah, that's what I thought. When you look at these final four, how do you break it down? Denny Hamlin 4-1, William Byron plus 450, Kyle Larson plus 550, and then Chase Briscoe at 7-1, courtesy of our friends over at FanDuel. So tell me what you got.
Stat-wise, William Byron, out of those four, is the best at this track. In the next-gen era, he has the second-best average finish here. Did not a win in 2023 there. He got his first win at this track. Now, Kyle Larson's next up in terms of stats that we're talking about at this track to break these drivers down even more. 4 top 5s in the last 6 races here. Now, Denny Hamlin, he's next up from this standpoint of just strengths at this track in the next-gen era, which matters most with these cars. But it's very interesting because the Toyotas just weren't strong to start off.
Oh, they were awful. Last week, they were terrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was enough. And that's another thing, too. Last week, they had a lot of engine issues, parts breaking down. Now, you can sort of assume that those issues were because they were testing the limits heading into Phoenix to make sure those things don't happen again. Still could make you a little bit cautious, but last race, you got to go all out, not sort of, if it happens, it happens. Your car breaks, it breaks. My point is with the Toyotas, they've gotten a lot better at this track specifically. I'd feel a lot better because they were at a point where if they made it to Phoenix, I didn't even count them to be a winner because they haven't even led laps. That was a couple of years ago. Now they're back. They're up to pace. They can contend with these two Hendrick Motorsports cars.
Without obviously seeing qualifying and practice and all of that, I ask you, who wins? Quick.
Well, I think Ryan Blaney wins to be the second driver non-championship to win the race. All right. I know, curveball at you. And I think Denny Hamlin gets his elusive championship as well.
Oh, that would be a great story. Tino Patino, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio and Tubi. Watch him this weekend. Always appreciate you, my man. Enjoy the race.
Thank you.
All right, just about time to put the wraps on this baby for another week. A couple of reminders before we go. SportsWrap weekends. Check your local listings for time and schedule. All over the world. Well, all over the country. Also available, it's all over the country. Actually, the weekend show does not air in Canada. So I can't say all available across Canada as well. The weekday show airs across Canada, but the weekend show does not. Let's change that. Come on, Game Plus. Let's go Anthem Sports and Entertainment. Let's change that. A couple of reminders. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast, available on all your favorite podcasting platforms. You can listen to the show Monday through Friday. It's fantastic. 45 minutes right there for you wherever you get your podcasts. Also, we have the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. Listen, this is the one-stop shopping destination for all things Sports Wrap. We've got the TV show there available Monday through Friday. 45 minutes, commercial-free. It's fantastic. We also have clips from the show. Our conversation with Diana Rossini yielded some interesting things. That's up there. Sports Wrap Shorts. If you have not checked this out yet, everything you need on the biggest stories whenever they happen, 1 minute or less. You can't beat it. Sports Wrap Shorts are terrific. Go and subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. I am also available on TikTok, Sports Wrap Jason Page. On Instagram, Sports Wrap Jason Page. I'm everywhere. I am omnipresent. All right, without any further delay on this Friday edition of the show, one of my favorite things we do every week on the show is embarrass ourselves. Like to think we know something about picking games, some of us more than others. And we come out here and just, as Sam would like to say, throw up on ourselves. We will try not to do the same this week.
It's Friday, and that means it's time for the weekly face-off for sports betting bragging rights. It's Paige versus the Prince on the Sports Wrap.
Vomit on my sweater already, as Eminem would say. Feeling the pressure. All these 2-2 weeks they're just adding up on me. For the record, Sam 1-3 last week, 20-12 on the season. I was 2-2 last week, 18-14 on the season. I am perpetually 4 games over 500 because I can't do better than 2-2. I can't do worse than 2-2. You're losing the VIG. I apologize. Without any further delay, Sam Yarnell on this Friday edition of the show. Give me 4 winners.
All right, Jason Page, I'll tell you, man, it was hard to pick 4 this week, but we're going with it. We're rocking with it. Hopefully we do a little bit better than last week. First of all, in Green Bay, give me the under 43.5 between the Panthers and the Green Bay Packers. The Panthers have a good run defense. Packers are going to try and run the ball in this game. I expect them to get up by a lot early and run the ball late. Again, Panthers, I'm trusting a bounce back spot from their run defense after giving up a ton of yardage to James Cook last weekend. And obviously, I don't need to say too much about that Packers defense when you're comparing it to a Carolina Panthers offense. Under 43.5 in Panthers. Packers under 43.5 also. In Chargers-Titans, this is a little bit of a system play. We've got a West Coast team flying east and playing in the 1 o'clock window. That spells not a lot of points to me. And then we've got the Tennessee Titans offense on the other side. Yet, not a lot of points in this one. 43.5, we're going to go under in Chargers-Titans. I like another under. The unders are nice to me this week. Niners Giants. Listen, everyone knows about the Cam Skattebo injury from last week. They're beat up on the Giants side of the ball. The Niners are already beat up. This is turning into the injury bowl very, very quickly, and we've got a high number in it. I'll trust 2 defenses and another West Coast team traveling east playing in that early window. Under 48.5, a high number in Niners Giants. And finally, Jason, there are a couple of double-digit spreads in the NFL this week, and you'd think don't touch either of them, right? Wrong. The Saints are turning to Tyler Shuck, and I can't wait to fade him. Rams minus 14.5. I don't care that I have to lay more than 2 touchdowns. The Saints are awful, and they're going on the road. Give me the Rams in SoFi.
We actually have a game that we disagree on, and a game that we're both interested in, but choosing different things. All right, let's get into it. I'll give you mine real quick here. Let me start with the Texans at home against the Broncos. All you had to do was listen to the show this week, and you would have known this one is coming. I haven't been a believer in the Broncos all year. I'm still not. Frauds. Give me the Texans minus 1.5 at home against the Broncos. Saints and the Rams. This is where we disagree, Sam Yarnell. In Tyler Shuck, we trust. Give me the Saints plus 14.5. And this is completely contrarian. They're traveling across the country. Tyler Shuck is the quarterback. They can't win anything. I want the Saints plus 14.5. Give me the backdoor cover. Late garbage touchdown down 21. I'll take it. Chiefs and Bills. This is the game of the week. We don't shy away from the big ones. I'm not picking a winner because I have no idea who's going to win. But I will take the over 52.5 in Chiefs Bills. I think there's going to be plenty of points scored in that game. Giants at home against the Niners. Give me the Giants plus the 2.5. Not a big believer in Mac Jones right now. I also do like you, though, like the under at 48.5. I actually noted it. But my play, Giants at home plus 2.5. Texans minus 1.5. Saints plus 14.5. Over 52.5 in Chiefs Bills, and the Giants at home plus 2.5 against the Niners. Page versus the Prince. Sam, have a wonderful weekend. Doing whatever it is you do. Usually that's working. Thanks to our guests, Tino Patino, Robert Littal, all of you for watching. I'm Jason Page. Catch SportsWrap over the weekend, or we'll see you back here on Monday. Bye-bye. Hi there. I'm Jason Page. You like what you're watching? Subscribe. We've got SportsWrap shorts on this channel. We've got the show. We've got clips from the show. What else do you have to do? You probably follow a lot of other things that aren't half as they're not half as exciting as this show is. So what are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button, follow the channel, watch the content. Bye.